The battlefield lies shrouded in darkness, littered with countless fallen bodies. A crow observes the carnage with curiosity, pecking at the remains before tearing off a piece and flying away. Another crow perches on a shattered spear, its eyes gleaming in the dim light as it spots something unusual. A woman sits on the ground, coughing up blood. Her injury is severe. She mutters bitterly about betrayal, regretting the trust she placed in others. Footsteps approach through the filth of the battlefield. A hooded figure surrounded by an aura walks toward her. She's startled to see him alive, a pink-haired warrior she never expected to survive this battle. The man is Wang, bearer of the title Phantom Spear. Trembling, he bows before the hooded figure. He has fulfilled his promise, and now it's her turn to grant his wish. A cough interrupts him. The hooded figure asks if he wishes to be revived. Badly wounded, he makes his request clear. She questions whether he's considered the absurdity of what he's asking. To send him back. Only his soul can travel, no fragment of his body can return, especially in his current state. He seems aware of the cost. She asks if he wants his emotions and memories of this place to accompany him. Even that would be complicated, and his sorrowful gaze confirms his understanding. A tear falls from his uninjured eye as light descends upon him. Touching his head, she questions why he chose this over revival, though she understands. Looking at the woman lying beside him, she recognizes her as a descendant of the royal family. The injured descendant confirms that venerable Gluttony speaks truth. The kingdom has fallen and the gates are taken. Gluttony declares that passing away is the best option. Forgetting these memories will give him somewhere to return to, but he didn't wish to go back because he has no place to stay. The pink-haired girl asks why Gluttony didn't grant his request if she feels so regretful. Gluttony responds that it's impossible not to feel regret. He was born with the destiny to lead others. This revelation surprises the girl. Gluttony says he was a star that shone brightly, and he died because of his own actions, lamenting that he only regretted them at the end. The woman's sorrowful expression reveals her pain as she tears the stone from her necklace. Despite the effort, her hand falls to the ground, opening to reveal the glowing stone. Gluttony understands what it represents. The girl hopes Gluttony hasn't forgotten the royal oath. Gluttony confirms the request can be granted, but asks what she can do for the girl in return. Something strange catches her attention. The world has ended, and there's nothing left she desires except to reward the earthling for preserving honor until the very end. Gluttony explains he cannot return to the past, only his memories as a dream. She asks if the girl minds this limitation. The girl responds that she's already received death's gift, and at the very least, she had an earthling like him by her side. Gluttony warns that both of them will perish and wants confirmation that she truly wishes to fulfill his request so desperately. The girl gives a small smile despite her pain, fully aware of everything. He confirms his wish. Gluttony's enormous black wings spread wide, sweeping everything in their path. With a hand gesture, she beckons him closer. Raising her other hand, a sphere of energy floats in the air. The fallen girl is enveloped by this radiant energy, her torn clothes removed from her body. A sign appears on the boy. The stone moves toward his chest, and Gluttony states that she eagerly awaits the moment when she will meet them again. The energy rises to the sky, lifting the stone high. It glows brighter before cracking and shattering into pieces that scatter across the sky. A roulette wheel spins with a ball inside. People cheer, trying to guess which number it will land on. A nervous man brings his hand to his mouth, pushing more chips onto the table and betting everything on zero. Night falls over the city as lights glow everywhere. Two men light their cigarettes, watching as a visibly irritated young man kicks a trash bin. One comments that he must have lost his mortgage, but the other disagrees, saying he saw him at least 4 years ago and is surprised he still looks so young. One man estimates he's about 20 years old and relatively famous. The other insists he wasn't always notable, but used to be very skilled about a year ago, always knowing when to place his bets. This surprises his companion, who asks what happened. There's little information available, only that the young man started complaining about no longer being able to see someone or something. The defeated boy leans against the trash bin, wondering why his luck stopped working. He wishes for one more chance with a good game. He could start over. An idea crosses his mind. He needs money. In a downtown coffee shop, a tall man with white hair approaches the counter and slides his phone across the surface. Casually, he asks for the barista's number, but she immediately refuses, leaving him frustrated. Someone gives him 5 points for physical appearance, another 5 for his face, and 5 just for his clothes, totaling 15 points. Though surprising, it's still not enough. The barista asks to speak for herself. The door opens again, and the barista turns to greet the customer. She finds the stern-faced young man from before walking past her and simply ordering an Americano. He sits down while others watch with curiosity. The girl with glasses states that payment is up front, but another employee decides to prepare the coffee anyway. The machine hums as she grinds the beans. Drops fall into the cup, and once ready, the coffee is delivered. The girl with glasses looks somewhat disappointed that he doesn't seem to care. Suddenly, he asks to speak to the manager. Startled, she asks if there's a problem. Holding an insect, he claims it was in his coffee. Disgusted, she insists that would never happen. Irritated, he raises his voice, asking if she's calling him a liar. This makes her more anxious, but another employee touches his shoulder, saying she'll handle it. Pulling out a chair, she sits in front of him and asks what he thinks he's doing. As if it's nothing, he replies that he's simply requesting compensation for emotional distress. She's shocked. He claims he has a very fragile heart and was deeply shaken upon seeing the insect in his drink. She doesn't fully believe it. He repeats what was once said to him, that it was over, and after that, she stopped speaking to him. He asks the manager, Yusenwa, how she plans to resolve the matter. She remains silent for a moment before sighing and taking out her phone. He mentions he once sent her money when she was studying abroad, remarking with irony that he thought she'd forgotten. He asks if that's all, reminding her he sent money so she wouldn't go hungry in a foreign country. With a tap, she makes the transfer. His phone vibrates in his pocket. Grabbing it and seeing the notification, his eyes widen, but he's not satisfied. It's only 2,000. She says that's all, and there are no further ties between them. He seems disappointed. Yusen notices something different about him, but he slams his fist on the table, asking if she's also mocking him. She's stunned. He says he was holding himself together and asks if she thinks he's some kind of beggar. Yusen seems confused. Irritated, he says he can't be treated like this. She clung to him when she was in trouble, and with a bit of money, she changed. Hearing all this makes her entire body tremble. Tears fall, wetting her apron, and she asks what happened to him. He seems surprised and confused by the question. Crying, Hwa says he was the one who helped her the most and that everything was because of him. Even when she wanted to give up, he was the only reason she kept going. A memory of them together flashes through her mind. She asks how he managed to destroy himself so much. He looks worn down by her words, but angrily says it's all because of that. If he hadn't lost it since he was very young, he had an ability. Being special from a young age, all it took was focusing his attention with his eyes. Then anything would light up with green lights. Nothing bad would happen if he didn't get involved with those lights. A lion stands atop a rock, not glowing. However, if he got involved with things that didn't have that color, more than half the time something bad happened. There was a small chance something would occur with non-glowing objects. To prove his ability, he chose the casino. Standing before the building, he considers his idea. In his first year of gambling, it was as if the goddess of victory stood at his side. The roulette spins rapidly before gradually slowing down. The boy celebrates his win. Starting with 100, in just 2 days he made 5,000. Each passing day saw his money grow beyond counting. However, using his ability more frequently caused migraines and insomnia. The green lights that used to appear so easily now required several minutes of concentration, and even then appeared very faintly. One day, after becoming very ill, all his luck vanished, but he'd already become a gambling addict and started losing everything he had. On a beautiful night, while some enjoy themselves, others like him are alone. He drinks the whole bottle, then wipes his mouth with his jacket. With the little money remaining, he just wants to make a great bet to get things back on track. Falling to the ground at the thought, he has no idea how to make it happen. While lying there, time passes and he falls asleep. Suddenly, light appears near him, growing stronger and greener, forming into the shape of a prism. The shape completes, glowing with blue light as it moves toward his forehead. Still asleep and unaware, the prism enters his mind. In his dream, it's like watching a movie inside his own head, where various monsters are the enemies. A powerful knight fights against them. Though he fights briefly, the knight is defeated. At the moment of his fall, a hooded figure appears, standing with head down, looking regretful. His tears soak his wounded, stained face. He has no strength left, only the will to start over. Jewel wakes with his eyes wide open. He quickly sits up, feeling as if he just emerged from a deadly battle. Sweat runs down his terrified face, and it feels as if terrible pain has struck him. He wonders why he had such a terrible dream. Still trembling from the after effects, he grabs a cigarette and puts it in his mouth. Jewel exhales the smoke while trying to calm down, not understanding why his heart is suffering so much. Regretful and feeling like an idiot, he wonders what he did. Ashamed of his actions, he lowers his head, torturing himself over all the bad things. Suddenly, he jumps to his feet. He intends to return what he took, but first he needs to fix things. Searching his jacket pocket, his eyes widen as he looks around and finds nothing. After checking all his pockets, he concludes it's not with him. Jewel can't believe this is happening. Even after searching everywhere possible, it's not with him. He considers that someone must have taken it while he was asleep. He wonders if it was caught on CCTV. He sees the train passing by and stretches out his hand as if wanting to grab it, but the idea quickly seems ridiculous. Laughing at his own stupidity, he wonders how he would even get his hands on it. All of this leaves him frustrated. Irritated, he yells about the loss of his money. Feeling more defeated, he starts going down the stairs with no energy left, stepping into the water. His thought is that the only thing left is to die. To him, this decision is better than living like this. He's deeply sorry to Sunhwa for doing it and apologizes to his parents while crying, his reflection shimmering in the water. Finally, a tear falls from his eye. As it touches the water, it glows green. The light grows larger as the tear mixes in, startling Jewel. He's confused, not understanding what's happening. The light grows even stronger, and everything around him begins to shine with green light. He's impressed, wondering if the light has returned. This time, the tears seem to be from emotion as he wonders how this is possible. Someone approaches. A woman says the water's pretty cold these days. She seems quite calm on this night, saying she came to talk with him. Jusel is very surprised by the woman in front of him. She explains again why she's there, which seems to make his head ache. To him, it feels like déjà vu. He's more certain he saw something like this in his dream. She asks him to come up, saying that even though the view is nice, for her it's a somewhat special day. Showing her card, she introduces herself as Hannah Kim, director at Shinyang. The young man climbs the stairs with his wet sneakers. As he approaches, she extends her hand. He takes the card and reads the information. Suddenly, it strikes him as strange that the phrase "human shield" crosses his mind. He wonders why he's thinking of something like that right now. Hannah Kim wants to get straight to the point because they don't have much time. She removes the strap of her bag from her shoulder and shows him the open bag filled with bills. The woman challenges him to a bet. Jewel curiously looks at the bundle of cash. It seems far too tempting, leaving him thoughtful. He replies that he doesn't gamble anymore and wants to know how she knows him. She asks what does it matter and says he could win it all in a single move, even covering his huge debt. Rudely, he says that's none of her business and demands that Hannah Kim answer his question. Regaining her composure, she says it was part of data gathering before business negotiations and apologizes for not mentioning it sooner. He asks what kind of business it is. She says she's a director and wants to hire him, but for that, Jewel needs to listen. He wonders why Shinyang would want to hire him and what kind of bet this is, but that's not even the biggest problem. To Kim, there's something more important. She smiles in a strange way, and all he can think of is human shield. So he refuses her proposal. The woman seems disbelieving and asks if he's not even going to listen. Once he hears the terms, he'll see he has nothing to lose. But Jewel says he's fine. Accepting this, she says he's very determined. She picks up her phone and, looking at it, says that coincidentally the slot has just been filled. Hannah Kim apologizes for the inconvenience and wishes him good luck before turning to leave. However, he asks her to wait, and she seems satisfied that her plan worked. Turning to look at him, she asks him to speak. Jewel says that as long as it's not a contract without consent, he's willing to listen to her. Hannah Kim doesn't quite understand what he said. Confidently, he says he prefers it to be an invitation rather than a contract. A giant monster with a massive iron ball chained to its wrist lifts it into the air. The creature tries to attack Jewel, but everything happens in a flash of light. The knight pierces through the monster, then unleashes another strike with his weapon, emerging unscathed with the creature slain on the ground. Out of the corner of his eye, he notices more ferocious monsters approaching. In that dream, he went from one battle to the next, always fighting desperately for his life until he finally couldn't take it anymore and collapsed to the ground, defeated. At the moment of his end, he made a plea to the goddess, begging her for the chance to restart his life. It was the first time he ever felt that way. However, in that dream, everything began when he met this young woman. She doesn't seem to like the idea of it being an invitation instead of a contract. She accuses him, asking if he's already part of the other side. With patience, Jewel says she, more than anyone, should know that's not the case. Hannah Kim thinks that if he really were part of it, there would be a mark on him. The man appears clean. She asks who recruited him first. He thinks a bit before answering, then says it doesn't matter, leaving her shocked. She finds it strange that he knows the difference between a contract and an invitation. Jewel says that's the whole point, he just wants an invitation. Hannah Kim asks him to explain why. He says it's obvious, if there's a choice on the scale, an invitation would be preferable. She asks why she should use her precious invitation on a useless gambler. He says it would be a problem if she didn't, shocking her. He believes the pharmaceutical company Shenyang has been in the news because they developed a drug years ago, and it's connected to the other world. Desperate, she asks what he's going to do about it, and whether he really thinks people would believe a gambling addict. He says her superiors wouldn't be happy to know she couldn't even handle an invitation, which infuriates her. Jewel says he doesn't want to go too far, she just needs to give him an invitation. However, she says the two things are completely different and that she's not capable of issuing an invitation. Cleverly, he asks about the precious invitation she mentioned earlier. Hannah Kim isn't lying to give an invitation, she needs permission. She reaches into her bag again, taking out her phone and unlocking it. The woman has only one mission with it. She'll have to keep him safe because soon she'll need to use it. In a memory at the foot of the goddess's statue, she asks if it really will be soon. The goddess says she'll find herself in a situation where she'll have no choice but to use it. Something small and glowing appears in her hand, an object different from anything she's seen, with a symbol on it. What's happening can only be what the goddess spoke of, leaving the woman irritated. To Hannah, he's a privileged one who, instead of being a slave, looks more like a veteran who spent years on the other side. On top of that, there's a prophecy about him. With little choice, she considers accepting, but there are conditions. Jewel tells her to just say it. First, he must promise right now that he's never been to the other world before. Of course, he promises. Second, he must tell her his secrets, who he met, and what he knows about those people. But he can't do that. She asks if he wouldn't even do that for a special invitation, sparking his curiosity. Jewel thinks about it for a moment, leaving her expectant. However, he refuses, saying maybe he'll tell her someday if he learns to trust her. To him, keeping his dreams secret is necessary, it's his only advantage. Hannah Kim seems tired of arguing and agrees. Her final condition is that if he manages to enter, he must do business with them before anyone else. Jewel thinks that if she used those words, she probably gave up on the slave contract. She says that if he's not an idiot, he won't have trouble getting in. She doesn't care what method is used to make it happen. He accepts the terms, which pleases her. She turns to rummage through her bag once more. The golden color is already shining in her hand, the golden object she received from the goddess. Curious, he asks if that's the seal. Hannah Kim grabs his arm and, irritated, says it's her life. She stamps the symbol on his hand. A glow appears. He stares at it, not understanding what's happening. His hand glows even more brightly, and the mark is etched into his skin. Then it begins to slowly fade away. Jewel is surprised when it vanishes completely. Hannah Kim pushes an envelope toward him, saying it's up to him to read it and that the portal will open that night at 10:30. She asks him to settle all his affairs, though she's not sure he has anything to resolve. She tells him not to get eliminated, otherwise she'll hunt him down to get everything back. She stomps her foot hard on the ground and turns to leave. They leave Jewel with little choice, but then she stops, having remembered something she needed to return. A bundle of cash is tossed. He catches it before it hits the ground. It's the money he'd been looking for. The woman warns him not to sleep just anywhere and reminds him he could die from the cold. With nothing more to say, she walks off. The money is finally with him. Jewel checks the time on his phone, remembering he needs to take care of things before the portal opens. Looking at the money, he thinks of Sunhwa. At the cafe, the staff ask the manager to rest while they clean up the store. Looking tired, Yusinwa is sitting down. Suddenly, someone walks in, startling her. It's Jewel again, which annoys her. She yells that it hasn't even been a full day since he got the money. He says that's not the reason. She demands that he leave, threatening to call the police for disturbing work. He finds this outrageous. Grabbing her arm, Jewel asks her to calm down and listen. The girl pulls her arm away, saying there's nothing left to talk about. She says he better be gone by the time she gets back. Desperate, he begs her to wait, but Yusinwa has shut the door. Only authorized people can enter. The girls talk among themselves, then the three of them guard the door so he can't come in. Regretful, Jewel understands that all of this was inevitable. He looks at the clock on the wall, then asks the girls to deliver something when Yusin returns. After lighting a cigarette, he walks down the street, then runs so as not to waste any more time. Meanwhile, Yusinwa slightly opens the door and asks the girls if he's already gone. One confirms and hands over the money he left behind. Jewel is in an alley behind the cafe, checking the time on his phone. He wonders if he should send a message. Back inside, Yusinwa rushes out through the cafe's door in a panic, looking around and searching for something. The woman notices smoke coming from the back of the store. It's him, standing there using his phone. Suddenly, a vortex of light appears above his head, a magical portal. Then he vanishes along with it. On the ground, only his phone and the still-lit cigarette remain. By the time the young woman gets there, it's already too late. She walks into the alley, picks up the phone from the ground, and sees the last thing he was doing was sending a message. The girl looks out beyond the horizon, not knowing what happened to him. The ceiling light is on, hurting his eyes and making him close them, but slowly he begins to adjust. Jewel is lying in bed, trembling. The place is very dirty with food wrappers scattered everywhere. He's surprised to find himself in his own room. After getting up, he opens the window, but notices there's no one outside. His phone rings with a notification. On the screen, there's a message asking him to read it. The young man picks up the phone, looking impressed. The problem is this isn't his phone, but even so, he picks it up. Suddenly, a warning appears saying the user registration is complete. There's a notification for a message. Curious, he taps it to see what it's about. It's a directive asking him to go to the Paradise School auditorium within the displayed time. He has 945 minutes to get there. The name Paradise School catches his attention. The place is quite large with a spacious sports field. Jewel walks across the big campus. To find his way, he reads the signs. He realizes paradise refers to the school, unlike in his dream where it seemed more like a fantasy. He still finds it strange that there's no one else on the streets, as if he were the only person in the world. He continues walking through the area. Based on the directions, he finally finds the Paradise School auditorium. As he's still climbing the steps, someone's already waiting for him. Soon he comes face to face with her. The girl greets him kindly. To Jewel, she seems to be a foreigner. Without saying anything, he tries to walk through the door, but the blonde girl extends her hand, then the other. He doesn't understand. With both hands outstretched, the girl seems to be expecting him to hand something over. The only thing he can think of is that she's waiting to check his invitation. In a crowded room, a woman says they just want him to show the contract. Some guys sit in chairs looking uninterested, only wanting to mess around. One says something about ending up there because they're useless. Jewel grows curious about them, but hands over the letter given to him by Hannah Kim. She opens it and immediately notices the paper is crumpled. As soon as she starts reading, the girl is visibly impressed, so much so that she starts to tremble. He doesn't seem impressed, he just wants to understand her reaction. She bows to him as she would to someone very important. It surprises Jewel and grabs everyone's attention in the auditorium. Finally, she signals for him to enter. The situation makes him nervous, but either way, he is guided by the woman. She kindly points to where he should sit. Even more nervous, he accepts his seat. Once again, the girl bows to him, and of course, people remain curious. One of the men asks why she did that, and the one with platinum hair recalls he didn't get the same treatment. Now that the woman is gone, everyone looks at Jewel. He, however, just wants to know who these people are, but everyone goes back to what they were doing before. Suddenly, another migraine hits Jewel. Now people surround him, making him suspicious. His heartbeat races from the anxiety. The young man remembers that in his dream he was standing, and apparently the situation has changed. A door is slammed shut. Someone shouts, asking if everyone is there. On stage, a man in uniform greets them, introducing himself as Han and saying he'll be their guide. Han says he understands everyone must have a lot of questions, but for now, they must follow the schedule. He asks them to think about attribute windows or just attributes, and that unless permission is granted, no one else will be able to see them. Naturally, Jewel thinks about attribute windows. Suddenly, a screen appears before him. Not just for him, everyone who thought of it is surprised by what appears before their eyes. A bit confused, one man asks a woman what a native ability is, while a child tells his mother he can't see anything. This makes Han curious, and he asks if the man has a native ability. The man denies it, saying nothing is written. Han says not to worry, it's normal for humans not to have any. That grabs Jewel's attention. After all, his screen says he has two. The young man is shocked by the information. He has future sight, which he believes is tied to his dream, and wonders if the question mark is his second native ability. However, he prefers not to reveal anything to others. While Han moves on to the next step, He asks them to activate the mark category, either by thought or by speaking aloud. One person hesitates, unsure of what to say, but still takes the risk. A young girl activates the mark category. A symbol appears above her head, clearly visible, startling the man behind her. Curious, he decides to take the same risk and says the same words. A similar mark appears above his head. More people follow, activating the bronze mark. Han arranges the papers in his hands, then tosses them into the air. Each paper hovers, organizing itself into a circle before transforming into bags. Han explains that a random box will be given to those with the bronze mark as a benefit, though no invitation bonus will be granted. As the girl distributes them, he says it's wise to use the benefits as soon as they're received. After all, it would be a shame to die without using them since the tutorial begins soon. He notices there are 2 people with a silver mark, which excites him to be the guide this time. The 2 people are Mr. Kang-suk and Miss Usiola. 2 more papers are tossed into the air, transforming into silver boxes. Unlike the bronze marks, they will receive benefits through the invitation. For him, it's a relief that the girl received it. Finally, Han notices Jewel sitting there and demands that the young man activate his mark category. He explains once again how it should be done. His eyes seem heavy with fatigue until suddenly they open wide, as if they were about to pop out. To his surprise, Jewel possesses the golden mark. Han is extremely surprised it's the first time he's seen one, and he says that in all history, there's only ever been one person with it. He notices a strange reaction from the young lady beside him, but the girl is just laughing at his reaction. Holding Jewel's invitation in hand, he announces that they are in the presence of someone important. This makes everyone else fixate on him, even burning with envy. Just like the others, he receives a box, the only one colored gold. The young woman hands it to him, and before leaving, she gives him a thumbs up, making the young man nervous. Curious like the others, Han asks him to open the benefit immediately. Jewel opens it, receiving 5,000 survival points, a survival mark, and a diary of a certain student updated. He's looking at his window when the phone in his pocket vibrates. 3 glowing cubes are inside the bag. Han talks about these boxes, saying they're very easy to open. He opens the first box of necessities, which seeks out what's most needed at the moment. Impressed, he looks at the window. The future sight skill reacts with the awakening of a new ability. The skill evolves into 9 eyes, turning green for general observation. For that, he must confirm. Jewel is still very confused by all this information. Something catches his attention. Next to him is Usiola. Her screen is visible to him, and the young man seems a bit surprised. He could apparently see the windows of others as well. This makes him suspicious since Han had said that only the owner could view their attribute window. The second box is opened, and he receives a scroll. This way, his skill evolves into 9 eyes with yellow-colored eyes, gaining focused attention. Orange is a warning to stay away. Red means he should retreat immediately. The third box is so bright it nearly blinds him. Still unable to see clearly because of the light, he recalls a memory of a woman telling him how beautiful his eyes are, a memory from when he was little and was told they were like the 7 colors of the rainbow. Still stunned by what happened, Han yells at him, wanting to know if all the boxes were opened. Jewel confirms. The man knows that for the good of everyone, the boxes can grant incredible benefits without regard for balance. The young man says he received a message to check his attribute window. Han thinks he can let it slide since it must be just an enhancement. Excited, his interest is in getting the game started. Everyone seems to be in agreement, but someone asks them to wait. A participant raises her arm, asking them to hold on. This doesn't please Han, who was just about to begin. He asks what she wants. She says that she and the rest of her group didn't receive benefit bags. Han explains that they're only for those who were invited, but she insists that they were too and wants to know the reason for the difference. The man says it's simple. The group with benefits were invited after a thorough evaluation. As for them, they were brought through contracts. Han adds that she's already suffered enough from the consequences of the real world. This gives a bad feeling to Shin Sanga, who even trembles in fear. The man says she's had enough explanation and wants to begin, but another person doesn't seem satisfied either. The man becomes outraged, saying that regardless of how everyone came, they deserve a better explanation. He angrily asks why they've been grouped together. Han says he'll figure it out for himself because it's already too late. He taps the screen of his phone with a malicious smile. Everyone in the auditorium receives a notification on their phones. Jewel is holding his phone. The message from the guide says the first tutorial mission Escape the Auditorium has begun, and his diary has been updated. Han wishes them a wonderful school year and lots of good luck. People are confused by what he says as he disappears along with the girl beside him. Meanwhile, Jewel is reading the guide on how to escape the auditorium and reach the waiting area on the second floor of the main building within 3 hours. This deeply worries the young man. Suddenly, something slams hard against the door, trying to get in, scaring everyone. Jewel gets up from his chair and activates his ocular ability. The door emits a red light, and he understands he shouldn't get close. They keep pounding on the strong metal door until part of the structure collapses to the floor. This frightens people even more. The banging continues until someone takes initiative and tells them to block the door to prevent it from being opened. The girl grabs one of the chairs and runs to help, using the object to block the door. Whatever it is keeps pushing, and more people run over to help her. The group is holding the door. One of the boys yells for help. The force hitting the door is so strong that 3 people are pushed away. They fall to the ground exhausted but get up again to help once more. It takes a lot of effort from the team. Meanwhile, Jewel looks for information on his phone, reading a journal that talks about blocking the auditorium door somehow. An interesting piece of information says that blocking it was useless, but during the chaos, the person ended up discovering a hole. The pounding on the door stops. One of them asks if it's gone, and everyone believes so. The exhausted girl collapses to the floor. Kang Suk says it's been on fire since the beginning, making his body tingle. He tells his teammates it's time to search the place. That man calls out to him. With a displeased look, Kang Suk turns and asks if the man was talking to him. The man just wants to know what his plan is. Kang Suk simply says to investigate, leaving the man uncertain. He points to a specific spot. Yun-Si is on stage investigating behind the curtains. She notices something and pulls the curtain for a better look. The man is unsure what they're looking for, but with the door blocked, Kang Suk says they need to find something useful. It makes sense to him, so he offers to help. But Kang Suk tells him to do whatever he wants, claiming he's not there to give orders. Still, the man says they'd finish faster if he and his group helped. However, the young man doesn't seem very interested, leaving the man confused. Kang Suk turns his back, saying for him to do whatever he wants since the matter is already resolved. This leaves the man furious. Irritated, the man calls him a worthless loser. The young man stops and lets out a long sigh. It's Shin Sanga who calls him a selfish jerk, saying he's only thinking of himself in a situation like this. Kang Suk asks her to repeat what she just said. Frustrated, she asks if he hasn't noticed everyone there are women and children too. But it doesn't seem to matter much to him. Many seem just as irritated as she is, while others stay thoughtful about the situation. The young man gives a slightly ironic smile, then asks what she wants from him since they already have enough to worry about. Shin Sanga says that's why they offered help. As if it were nothing, he scoffs at the offer, which seems to make her even more upset. Kang Suk asks why she's dumping all the baggage on him, further irritating her. He affirms again, saying he realizes they're trying to use him, and tells useless people like them to get out of his way. The woman clenches her fists, trembling with anger. Yale steps in to prevent a bigger fight, saying they need all the help they can get, so they have to work together. The young man says whatever and offers her and her brother to join his team. Suspicious, she asks why he wants to bring them in. Kang Suk simply says they seem useful, which angers Shin Sanga, who asks how he could know what's useful or not. With a smile, he says it's simple, it's because the two of them were invited. As for the others, he says they were dragged in because of a contract. His words make the young woman even more furious. Kang Suk calls out to someone. It's Jewel, standing in the middle of the auditorium. He turns to see who's calling him. Kang Suk asks if he doesn't want to finish the tutorial already, saying it'll be easy if he joins them. The young man seems to think for a moment while everyone else looks at him, waiting for an answer. In her thoughts, Yola prays for everyone to be helped and not abandoned in that place. Jewel closes his eyes. When he opens them, the color is green. He sees the color green on people, and the same goes for the door that is secure. But Kang Suk's color is orange, asking him to pay attention. The real surprise, however, is Usiola, who has no color at all. That leaves Jewel deep in thought. He doesn't really know what to say or do until suddenly everything around him turns red, signaling an immediate evacuation. More booms erupt, scaring everyone. This time, the banging seems to come from beneath the floor. People want to know what's going on. Some think it might be an earthquake, but Jewel yells at them to run. Everyone decides to listen and runs as told. People are desperate to save their lives. In the middle of the chaos, Yang Jin ends up injuring his ankle and falls to the ground. His sister notices what happened. The girl rushes to help, frantically begging him to get up quickly. A dark circle appears on the floor behind him and suddenly shatters, sending pieces flying everywhere. From the hole, hooks attached to ropes emerge. The man panics, trying to figure out what's going on. The siblings are about to escape before they're caught, but one of the hooks is heading straight toward them. Realizing this, Yola pushes her brother out of the way. He hits the ground hard as he falls. Desperately, he looks at his sister. The girl is now acting as his human shield. Then something strikes her with great force, the hook attached to the cables, which then pulls the girl toward the hole. Desperate, Yang Jin screams for his sister and begs the others to grab her. The man tells his wife to take their daughter and keep her away from the chaos. Meanwhile, Yola is halfway inside the hole, and the others are struggling to pull her back. Jewel and the rest simply watch the scene unfold. Hyen Sang Man tells them all to help. The people remain frozen, unsure if they should really get involved. One of the women joins the group, but to Jewel, it already feels too late. Yang Jin is desperately holding on to his sister. The young man notices the look in his eyes and asks him to help save his sister. The people around them look at him, whispering about someone with a golden mark not helping. Jewel feels compelled to act, so he runs in to help. From within the hole comes a terrible scream followed by a spray of red liquid that drenches Yaisola. Something begins wrapping around the girl's body, causing the others to fall to the ground. Another roar frightens them, and the girl's body begins to shake as the hole starts to close. Her legs, still sticking out, fall flat to the floor. Yang Jin rushes to his sister, desperately grabbing her foot and pulling to get her out. The scene is utterly horrifying, leaving everyone in shock. Only a part of Yola remains. From the hole, something starts to emerge. The man is the first to notice a terrifying creature with red eyes and monstrous jagged teeth. It climbs out of the hole, showing how massive it is compared to them. The monster opens its huge mouth and roars once more. Its feet emerge from the hole, having only 3 thick, sharp claws. Terrified, people run away from the scene. Meanwhile, Yun Seola hides behind the stage, trembling in fear. People run toward the door. The lady in red tries to remove the chair that had earlier been blocking something from getting in. Young Minwoo pushes her, striking her in the face. He easily removes the chair and runs back toward the monster. With all his brute strength, he He throws the metal chair at the creature. The chair flies toward it, but is stopped by one of the hooks, then crashes to the floor without hitting the monster. People try to open the door. A desperate Kang Suk begs them to hurry. The monster leaps forward and lands on someone, crushing them beneath its weight. The creature roars again, and people run in panic, looking for help. With its hooks, it lashes out at everyone, slicing through flesh in its path. The eerie, terrifying creature reveals its enormous tongue. The door finally opens, and everyone runs for the exit. Jewel is among those fleeing. However, his concern is that he doesn't understand why he isn't even slightly nervous. He wonders if it's because it doesn't feel real at all. He stops beside a metal rod and stares at the object, kicking it as if trying to remember something. The young man picks up the staff and effortlessly spins it in his hand. He thinks the answer is obvious. Jewel handles his new weapon, then recalls the fighter from his dream and mimics the same combat stance. To him, this is nothing. The others run to save themselves, all heading in the same direction, but Kang Suk tells his team to go the other way. Meanwhile, Hyeon Sang Man stands still, observing everything. Two groups split up as they flee. He looks toward the destroyed auditorium door, but eventually decides to run with them. Meanwhile, the terrifying monster shows its sharp teeth, but Jewel doesn't seem fazed. The monster charges forward with its hooks and wide-open mouth, ready to attack. An orange aura surrounds the young man. He strikes the creature. The impact isn't powerful, but enough to stop it in its tracks. Its red lizard eye senses something. The monster looks toward the exit of the auditorium. The iron bar is dropped to the floor. This frightens Jewel greatly. He doesn't quite understand what he just did. Meanwhile, Kang Suk's group tries to find shelter. Ya Minwoo uses all his strength to open a door, but it seems like an impossible task even for him. Kang Suk explains that he won't manage it using brute force alone. In the background, Hyeon Sang Man heads in another direction. This does not go unnoticed by him. The man heads for the windows and picks up one of the many potted plants nearby. Seeing this, Kang Suk says it's expected of one of the invited to use his head and sarcastically remarks that he was invited exactly for thinking. The window glass is shattered, and Hyeon Sang Man tries to reach the latch until his eyes widen. From the piece of glass on the floor, the reflection of the monster is visible. He screams that the thing is out, sending the whole team into a panic. Desperate, Kang Suk yells for the door to be opened immediately. Out of the corner of his eye, he notices something. It's Kam Sang Man running away. He calls him a cowardly piece of trash. The hole in the floor is stained with the girl's fluid. Jewel remembers that this was mentioned in the journal. He recalls what was left of her in his mind. To him, maybe Yaisola could have survived if she hadn't hesitated so much. He looks toward the stage. Yusiola remains hidden there, trembling with fear. She tries to convince herself to open her eyes, telling herself she came knowing what could happen, but it all just frightens her. Very carefully, she tries to take a look and sees that everyone is gone, including the monster. Meanwhile, Jewel conducts his own investigation. Using his phone's flashlight, he examines everything around him carefully. He keeps moving cautiously, following his phone's instructions. It seems he's reached the right place. There's a message: Kang Suk, Yi Hyung UK, and Minwoo have reached the waiting area on the second floor, which surprises him. He has a map of the main area on the second floor. One area is marked in red, and he wants to understand what it means. Something approaches from behind him, and he quickly notices. Turning around from the hallway, he can only see a flashlight. He turns off his phone's light, afraid of being discovered. Someone is coming from the darkness, guided by the flashlight. However, luckily for Jewel, the person finds nothing. The person continues to get closer while searching the area. Jewel is worried about being spotted. To be sure, he uses his ocular ability. A green light illuminates the person, and he notices there's no color change. Even so, he doesn't know what to do until he remembers the attribute window. With just a thought, he manages to activate it. That's how he discovers the person is Han Sang-min. The man keeps walking unconcerned. It's Jewel who turns on his flashlight and shines it on him, prompting the man to ask who he is. Even blinded by the light, he recognizes him and asks if he's the guy with a gold mark. Jewel remains where he is, still. Han Sang-man approaches even more, confirming the young man is from the gold mark and saying it took him a while to find him. Suspicious, the young man asks what he wants. Han Sang-man says they're going to win together, and that surviving on his own would be difficult even with the gold mark. Jewel wants to know why him, since the man would have more advantage with the silver mark group. Han Sang-man thinks he's just asking that to test him. That doesn't convince the young man. Being direct, he says he doesn't tolerate disadvantages or injustice, and that those guys are on their own. With his 9 eyes ability, Jewel looks at the man's window. The man finds that a bit strange. His temperament is egocentric, always seeking personal gain. His aptitude is above average, and he has strong instincts. All of those traits put Jewel on alert. He tells the man that he needs to ask something. He wants to know why he went to the girl when she was being dragged into the hole. The young man remembers him and Sang-man running toward her, then yelling for the others to help, being the first one to do so. Jewel asks what benefit he would get from trying to save her. He also says he could have died if things hadn't gone as planned. Han Sang-man says it's pretty simple, he just wanted to earn everyone's trust. The young man doesn't quite understand what he means. He explains that if it had worked, he would be seen as a savior, and people would feel they owed him, doing whatever they could for him. But he regrets having failed completely. Jewel thinks everything is coldly calculated and that the sincerity is just a tactic to earn his trust. Han Sang-man says he'll follow his orders and that he's also willing to risk himself for him. The young man realizes it's like a hierarchy and asks what the man gets out of something like that. He says it gives him a better chance of making it to the end alive because from his point of view, the odds are better this way. Jewel understands that he's laying his cards on the table and doesn't seem very concerned about it. At the very least, he thinks the man is easier to deal with than Kang Suk. All that's left is to introduce himself, saying his name is Seal. Han Sang-man says the name sounds like a girl's and that he'll do his best to repay him. But the young man asks for what, since they haven't done anything yet. Han Sang-man asks what he plans to do and says he'd like to hear the plan. Jewel simply says he has to find it, leaving him confused. He explains that this is why they were given 4 hours. Elsewhere, things don't seem to be going well. Outside, everything is empty and silent. Meanwhile, the survivors are in hiding. The man says the main entrance is blocked by an invisible wall and the monsters in the auditorium. His wife wants to know what to do. He thinks the only way is to go up to the second floor like the other group. Frustrated, the man says that if he had known this would happen, he would have followed them. He blames his wife for going the other way. She defends herself, saying she was just trying to escape. Shin Sang-go watches the unpleasant situation unfold. In another corner, Yang Jin is crying over the death of his sister. Meanwhile, the lady in red asks what he's going to do and if he has some brilliant idea. The man thinks about a new plan. With his eyes, he notices something. He sees the girl in the blue cloak walking around the area. With a smile, he says that he does have a plan. Jewel explains that the mission is simple, even with the monster anomaly, and that despite the time given, the auditorium is close to the main building. Han Sang-min agrees since Kang Suk and his group already finished their mission. Jewel believes there will be other missions. The man wants to understand why they were given so much time. He answers that it's so they can get their hands on what they need. Han Sang-man asks if that would be a weapon to defeat the monster, but he says he doesn't know if that's an option. He's looking for something else. Curious, the man asks what that would be. The answer is that they'll find it there. Han Man asks what place this is that he just opened the door to. As if it were obvious, Jewel says it's the main building. Meanwhile, the man asks if everyone understood what he said. Judging by their reactions, they don't seem to agree much. Shin Sanga asks if they really have to go through with this. Arrogantly, the man asks if she has a better plan than his. The lady in red is the only one who seems confident in his plan, asking who says they should die here. Shin Sanga looks at the man's wife, but the woman quickly looks away as if she's afraid of something. With no one else saying anything, the man says they should get started and look for something more suitable. Each person heads off in a different direction, searching every possible area. Meanwhile, the lady in red asks the boy if he plans to stay in that same state. In the same position, Yang Jin doesn't seem to care much. Shin Sanga says she understands how he feels, but that he shouldn't give up after all. There's a reason they're there. The young man doesn't react beyond whimpering. She asks if he'll let his sister's death be in vain. That statement seems to hit the boy. He remembers his cheerful sister. Then someone shouts that it's been found. The man says it's time for them to begin. In another part of the building, Yun Seola is searching through some things, sifting through papers until she finally finds what she was looking for. The girl lifts the paper up to her face. Suddenly, she hears a noise. It's the monster hunting for its victims. She quickly hides under a bookshelf. The creature seems to sense something and looks through the window. To avoid being found, the girl even covers her mouth with her hands to stay silent. The monster is about to leave until a rock is thrown at the window, shattering the glass. The object lands right beside her. This grabs the attention of the horrid creature. It was the boy who hit the window. The man celebrates what he did, and the boy shows off, saying he told them he was a pitcher on the basketball team. The one in red asks if they should go, but the man explains they have to be sure the creature has entered. One of the young boys says he still doesn't see anything. The building is dark with no sign of anyone walking inside. The door is opened by the monster. Usiola is growing more terrified, feeling her heart pounding hard. With its enormous mouth, the monster searches for someone, and the girl shuts her eyes. It spots the remaining glass from the window on the floor, which makes it look outside. That's when it sees the small group fleeing. The monster jumps through the window, making everyone's eyes widen in fear. The man tells everyone to run. He's in the front carrying his daughter. The basketball boy urges everyone to run to the back. Meanwhile, the monster seems to be choosing its first target. Someone trips over a stone while running, and the monster immediately notices with its red eyes. It rushes forward to attack, revealing its massive tongue and sharp teeth. The boy on the ground is terrified while the creature is eager to devour him. But the pitcher throws something at the monster. Now all the creature's attention shifts to him. The others keep running for their lives. The man soon spots the iron door and tries to open it, just like the earlier group did. He manages to open it. Those remaining enter, but Sangha is very hesitant. She looks at the trio in danger, but the arrogant man yells at her to get in, scaring her. There's no choice but to comply. When she enters, the man even closes the door and, not satisfied, locks it so there's no risk of someone else opening it. Worried about the others, she asks what he's doing. He points to the monster and says it's already too late for them, but she only says there was no need to lock it. He says they need as much time as possible. Sangha tries to say something, but he quickly interrupts, asking if she thought she'd survive without getting her hands dirty. He also says she shouldn't let her sense of justice cause everyone to be finished off. Annoyed, he walks past everyone. Sangha once again looks at his wife, who avoids eye contact. The woman tells her daughter Hijin that they should go. Sangha was about to leave with them until she notices Sunjin standing there. Curious, she asks if he thinks the same way. The boy looks quite intimidated, but only says they wouldn't be able to save them. That answer leaves both of them upset with what happened. Meanwhile, Jewel and Sangman are investigating the building. He shines his flashlight on the front shop. Jewel says it's something the guy didn't mention since no one asked about it. He says it's the time limit and the tutorial conditions. Hearing that scares Sangmin. He thinks it's no wonder the young man has the gold mark. Because of that, his plan is to reach the same level by staying by his side. Kang-suk doesn't have the same value. Jewel approaches the shop door. He's about to open it when the other asks him to wait. Sangmin says to leave it to him after all, they don't know what might be waiting inside. To reassure him, he says to use him for this kind of thing. The shop doesn't appear to have any danger or any sign that someone has been there. The man lights up the place with his phone's flashlight, carefully walking through the area. Meanwhile, Jewel waits for him outside. The young man is calm as he waits. Taking advantage of the moment, he activates his 9 Eyes ability. The store lights up completely in green. Once again, the door opens and Sangman says everything is clear inside. Trusting mostly in his ability, the young man simply agrees. The plan is to look for food and anything that could be useful in an emergency. While rummaging through a bag, Sangman says that with it, they could beat up the monster, maybe even eliminate it. Thinking about that possibility, Jewel checks his own bag. Noticing this, the man comments that even the bags are different and that they divide things almost equally. Jewel realizes that this is the value of the golden mark. As they walk, Sangmin asks if they're going to look for weapons. The young man says they're heading straight up because there's something he needs to check. Pointing to the staircase, he says the waiting room is upstairs, which makes Sangmin curious as to how he knows that. He shows the phone. This surprises the man, seeing a map he didn't receive, but it's all thanks to the privilege. Sangmin asks if that means they don't need to go upstairs just yet. Tapping the screen, Jewel tells him to look. The map is highly zoomed in and detailed. He explains that the dots were all blue, but when Kang-suk and his group arrived, everything turned red. The man asks if that worries him. He says the group has 3 people, and there are 3 red dots, which he doesn't believe is just a coincidence. Thinking it over, Sang admits that it makes sense. Suddenly, something crosses his mind, and he asks if the first ones to arrive get the privileges. Jewel says no because they would have been notified. So Sangman says the only thing left to do is check it out. The young man waits at the bottom of the stairs. From the top, Sangman looks around every corner, checking for danger. Seeing that everything's clear, he announces it's safe. While one is nervous, the other is completely relaxed. Pointing at a door, Sangman says he believes it leads to the first floor hallway and asks if they should search it. Jewel says no, they already have what they need, and there's no reason to risk it. They calmly go up the stairs, but the one in front soon stops. Both are now on alert, and Jewel's calm is gone. Access to the second floor is blocked by bars. Both express their frustration, leaving the first floor as their only option. Jewel says they'd be totally screwed if a monster decided to come right to where they are. Frightened by that possibility, Sangman even gets chills. Their only option is the exit door. The 2 guys press their ears against the door to listen. Sangman speaks first. Everything is quiet. He asks if they should open it. The doors slowly open just to be safe. A terrible stench of death and red liquid hits their noses, and they both cover their noses with their hands. The hallway is completely red in every corner. All Sangman can say is that the place is not friendly. Jewel stands back from the door, then activates his 9 Eyes ability. The hallway turns orange, and he understands that's the signal not to go near. The guy asks if they should try upstairs again, maybe the bars are made of rubber. Jewel thinks about analyzing things using his eyes, so he tells his partner to give it a try. Back at the second floor entrance, Sangman asks if he thinks it might be electrified. Before the man touches it, Jewel tells him to wait once again and activates his ocular ability. But to his surprise, no color appears. The man beside him asks what's wrong, not understanding the situation. The young man with a golden mark only thinks that if it's not green, then it can't be something normal. He extends his hand, which passes right through the bars. Back to the monster's location, the young thrower is still in danger. His girlfriend is also terrified, clinging to him. The monster's footsteps echo around them. With only each other, the couple tightly hold hands. The monster is ready to attack, which makes the two young people squeeze their hands even tighter. Their only option is to run while the monster chases after them. Both are desperate, doing everything they can to survive. The young man looks back. He no longer sees the monster, but his girlfriend calls out to him. The creature is closer than they imagined. The monster prepares to strike them. Then comes the blow with no mercy at all, while everyone watches it happen. The girlfriend calls his name, but the young man no longer reacts. Being even more cruel, the creature splits his body. Its macabre smile grows wider as the young man's vital fluids splatter everywhere. A sinister scream echoes through the night. The other group hears it from inside the building, leaving the man leading them with a mix of fear and concern. Being in front, he runs toward the stairs. On one of the steps, he steps on the red liquid from another possible victim. This activates the monster's sensors. The creature looks inside the building. It has the ability to see through everything. That's how it locates the group. It lets out an even more terrifying scream. The two hear the scream and are frightened. Sangha tells the boy they need to run first. She counts so he can prepare, and when she reaches 3, the two of them run. But the monster jumps through the window and quickly lands on the ground. The two are trapped with this creature. The monster roars again to terrify them. Scared by what's happening, Sangha calls out to Sunjin. This time, the boy seems determined to do something. From his bronze bag, a glow appears. He pulls out a kind of orb. Sunjin twists the object, activating the timer, and then draws the monster's attention. As soon as the creature looks, he throws the object. The 2 points are about to meet. It all happens very quickly. The object is already close to the monster when the 2 points collide. Then it explodes, lighting up everything and giving the two time to escape. The light is so strong, it can be seen from outside. Thus, those left behind can see it. But the light doesn't last forever. One of the monster's eyes becomes sensitive due to the flash explosion. Searching for its victims, it no longer finds them. However, it has the trail that leads to the upper floor. The man places his hands on the bars, trying to use force to push them apart. In desperation, he screams for help. Suddenly, a window appears, registering a new user. As a result, the bars begin to move. One by one, the bars retract. The man is happy about this. His first thought is to get to the other side. Confidently, he tells his family there should be no problem. But as he crosses the threshold, the bars return. His wife approaches the bars, but it's too late. He doesn't understand why that happened. In despair, he tries to open them again. His wife and daughter call out to him. With little else to do, he tells them not to leave. The man looks around, searching for help. He has no choice but to explore the long corridor. He notices people there. It's Kang Suk and his group. Desperate, he pleads for help for his wife and daughter. Mockingly, the silver-marked leader simply asks why he's making so much noise. The man explains that the bars won't move. The young man only says he should handle things properly at his age. Kang Suk's focus changes. The man is on his knees, begging for help, saying he doesn't know when the monster will appear again. This annoys the young man, who says the man is putting him in a tough spot, and that if he doesn't help, he'll get a bad reputation. The man keeps begging for help. Kang Suk stands up and brushes the dust off his clothes. He says he's not usually like this, but if it's just this once, then a terrifying sound is heard. This terrifies the man, imagining what it could be. In a rush, he stands and runs back to his family, stopping as soon as he arrives. His wife and daughter are upside down. The monster is holding both as they cry out to him. Kang Suk, arriving right behind, says what a shame. Without remorse, he says it looks like they arrived too late. But the man turns to him and once again begs for help as his final act of desperation. The young man looks seriously at him, then frees the arm the man is holding, only to point at the button on the wall. The man looks at the object, wondering what to do. Kang-suk says it will open when he presses the button. However, they arrived too late. But the man says it's not too late. He's about to press it when the young man asks if he can eliminate the monster. Kang-suk says that instead of asking for help, he should have been more careful while searching around. His wife calls out to him once again. Even with his hand near the button, the man hesitates, wondering whether he should do it or not. The young man says the only certain thing is that if he opens the iron bars, everyone will be wiped out. With that, he tells him the choice is his, making it clear they'll hold no grudge. The screams of his family echo in his mind as he fears making a decision. Meanwhile, Jewel is touching the bar. A window appears for him, registering a new user. This makes him highly suspicious. Impressed, Sangmin asks how he did that, but not even the boy knows. Once again, he stops Jewel from going up, casually claiming there could be traps. But as soon as he moves closer, the bars return. The entire path is closed off again. With that, Jewel believes it's programmed to accept only one person. The young man looks at him, who's now in despair, but he simply turns his back and begins climbing the stairs. In desperation, Sangmin asks if he's really going to leave him behind. The young man stops halfway, looking for something he knows should be there. Finding the red button, he presses it. The iron bars rise again. Without waiting a second, Sangman walks through the path, which once more closes behind him. Almost out of breath, he says it was terrifying, thinking he'd actually be abandoned. To his surprise, Jewel replies that the thought did cross his mind. As they go up the stairs, Sangmin asks if that was some kind of joke. Far ahead, the young man notices something. It's Kang-suk's two partners, who also notice them. But before anything can happen, the monster's scream startles them. The cries of the mother and daughter continue, begging for help. As provocation, the monster uses them as bait. Kang-suk seems to feel no remorse and even enjoys watching the man in despair. His smile vanishes when he realizes people are approaching. Seeing the two, he asks if they decided to form a team. Jewel says nothing, just glances at the button from the corner of his eye. Kang-suk quickly states that only the man can press the button. Sangman, observing everything, realizes that the authority goes to the first person who touches the bars. Jewel doesn't like his attitude. Kang-suk seems to enjoy others suffering. Everyone looks outside. The monster is slamming against the iron bars. Agitated, it tries to force its way through. Kang-suk says that one almost scared him, but assures them that as long as the bars are there, it can't get in. To make things worse, he says the story changes completely if the bars disappear. The man still hasn't made a decision, and his family keeps screaming for him. That bothers Jewel, who wants to know what he can do for them beyond just watching. His golden bag begins to glow. He reaches inside to see what it is until Sangmin puts a hand on his shoulder. The man gestures as if to say there's not much they can do. Both of them look toward the only person who can actually do something. The man still hasn't made his choice, he only cries in despair. Jewel understands the decision isn't theirs to make. With his head down, the man apologizes to his wife and his beloved daughter, Hijin. Even as they desperately beg not to be abandoned, the monster seems to understand the decision has been made. The only thing the man does is turn his face away, not wanting to see the scene. The creature brings its bait close to its mouth, then chews them, making their fluids splatter. Jewel watches in horror while Sangman tries not to see anything. The monster wipes its mouth after finishing its meal, then finally turns and walks away. Defeated, the man collapses to the ground. He begins sobbing uncontrollably, which amuses Kang-suk. The young man says it's a shame, but that he made the right decision and concludes by saying they should rest in peace. There was nothing that could have been done to save them. Kang Suk rejoins his group to leave. Otherwise, they all could have been killed in vain. That's just how things are. After all, this place is a world where only the most capable survive. But for Jewel, the real world has always been that way. He wonders if he could have done the same thing. If instead of them, it had been Sun Hua who was captured, he wonders what he would have done. The man is alone in his suffering. Kang Suk and his friends talk as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, Jewel and Sang Man seem shaken by what occurred. The young man tells him not to lose focus and says that in paradise, things are even crazier. This surprises the other, who asks if they aren't already in paradise since that's the name of the school. This shocks Sang Man as he truly didn't know, despite being from the gold tier. Jewel, a bit intimidated, says he only became one by chance. Still, the other guy says everyone must have their reasons, and that's why he won't ask anything else about it. He explains they're not in paradise, but in the portal, which is why it's called the tutorial. Jewel remembers what Hannah Kim told him about staying alive once he entered, and he realizes she was referring to this. Looking at the man, Sang comments that he doesn't understand how his whole family ended up taking part in this. He doesn't want to pity the man, but realizes that if he brought his wife and daughter into this place, he doesn't want to imagine what kind of life he had. Jewel says everyone has their stories, something you'd never guess unless you had lived it. With a hint of malice, the guy agrees, but says he doesn't even need to hear the man's story. Something grabs everyone's attention on the floor. A window pops up, alerting that Yun Seola has arrived at the second floor's waiting room. The girl appears before them. Kang Suk immediately starts provoking her, calling her the quiet one, but she doesn't pay any attention to it and keeps walking her way. She then just leans against a corner away from everyone and uses her hood to shield herself from their stares. Once again, Kang Suk comments on her behavior, saying she's just being her usual self. Meanwhile, Jewel simply notes that now there are 6 of them. Paying attention, Sang Man asks what he means. It's about the iron bars in the waiting room. They're designed so the first ones to touch them get registered as users. This gives them the right to open or close the entrance. There are a total of 6 entrances. Kang Suk's team, being the first to arrive, claim 3 of them. Jewel figures that of the 3 remaining, he claimed 1. One belongs to the man who lost his family, and with Yaisola, all the entrances are now registered. But the guy still doesn't get the point. Sang Man realizes it's 1 person per entrance, but nothing quite makes sense to him yet. Summing up, Jewel explains there's a 50% chance that the leftover people will find one of their entrances. That part, the man understands. Jewel continues, asking if he thinks they'll just let the others walk in easily. Finally, he gets the point of concern. Meanwhile, the remaining group keeps climbing the stairs. Sangha is the first to notice the issue. They finally run into the iron bars. Not knowing what it is, she simply asks why it's blocked. The lady in red, impatient, tells her to move out of the way. In desperation, she screams, hoping someone will hear her. The guy behind her is scared and begs her to stay quiet so the monster doesn't hear. Soon, the one who owns that entrance comes down the stairs to see who it is. The group is startled by who's approaching. Impressed, Kang Suk says she actually made it there somehow, calling her a crybaby. This angers the woman, who asks who he's calling a crybaby. However, it's not about her, he's talking about Sangha. Just the sound of his voice irritates her. Trying to ignore it, she asks how she can get in. With a smile, he says it's simple and tells her to look at the red button, explaining that it will open if he presses it. He makes it very clear that it only opens if he presses it, declaring himself the owner of the entrance. This surprises Sangha, learning about that, but she tells him to stop messing around and just open it. Once again, the guy asks her to keep quiet. Everyone is afraid of attracting the monster's attention. The others also come down the stairs. Meanwhile, Sangha, desperate, begs him to open the entrance. But Kang-suk and his group just keep watching the two of them. Jewel confirms that he's the owner, so he's the only one who can open it. That makes the silver tier guy brag about it. Once again, Sangha pleads for the entrance to be opened, but he just refuses to do it. Furious, the lady in red demands he opens it now. But ironically, he says the decision to let them in isn't up to him. Sangha asks why he's acting like that. Holding a grudge, he asks who called him insignificant and selfish. While Sangha is hurt by this, the woman in red gets irritated. She grabs the bars, ready to curse him out, but the boy covers her mouth, afraid the monster might hear. The woman doesn't seem too concerned about that for now. While Sangha watches, she sighs, preparing herself for what she's about to do. She apologizes for the insult back in the auditorium and says the people with her are innocent, he shouldn't play with their lives. Kang-suk asks if she's telling the truth, and she agrees. Still, he says he has no choice and wants her to prove it. He proposes letting the other four in, but she'll have to stay behind. The man asks what she'll do since the monster could show up at any moment. Sangha lets out a long sigh, trembling from the whole situation. The woman in red grabs her hand, asking if Sangha is really doing this for them and saying they'll go in first and find a way to open it for her later. Her gaze is intimidating. Sangha simply steps away from them. Meanwhile, Kang-suk celebrates, calling himself a martyr. He finally presses the button, raising the bars, and everyone rushes through to save themselves. But Sunjin turns around to look at her. She seems shaken but not regretful about her decision. The boy just looks away. The other two call out to her, but the woman just ignores them. Sunjin runs past Kang-suk, bracing up the stairs in desperation. As soon as he reaches the button, he presses it, but nothing happens. He's left confused, trying multiple times frantically. Kang-suk tells him not to waste time, saying he already told him only he can open it. Sunjin rushes at him in anger, but Saw holds him back, stopping him from doing anything. Minwoo slams the boy to the ground with full force while Sangha watches, calling out to him. Kang-suk mocks the boy, saying he's desperate to get eliminated and even asks if she offered to be his new sister. Sunjin just begs him to open the gate. Kang-suk calls him all sorts of names and says he might not open it if the boy keeps annoying him. From the gate, Sangha asks if he's going to open it. In response, he just says it depends on her. The woman asks what he wants her to do. He says he doesn't believe in words and asks her to sincerely apologize. Sangha asks if she needs to kneel. Kang-suk says to cut the act because it's leading nowhere. The only thing he asks is for her to take everything off. Everyone not in his group is shocked by this demand. Kang-suk says he'll feel better with a dance and, being a generous guy, he'll let her keep her underwear. Obviously, she refuses, calling him sick. He says it's no problem, she can just go try the other gate. He makes it clear that his partner's hands sick and Minwoo also control other gates. He asks what she's waiting for, and if she's not going to go, she should get lost. With no other option, she just accepts it. Kang-suk pressures her, saying she has 10 seconds to take off her pants. With a malicious smile, he tells her to start. It's too much for Sangha. Jewel watches in anger. He thinks about stepping in, but Sangmin stops him. He says he doesn't like what's happening either, but they can't do anything since only the strong survive. As the seconds are counted down, Sangha begins removing her clothes, trembling from the situation. Kang-suk and his group enjoy the humiliation. The woman thinks that if Jewel believes survival belongs to the strongest, then he'll have to show them. The young man is determined to prove who's truly the strongest here by activating his native ability, Future Vision. After taking off her bottoms, Sangha lowers her head. The poor woman starts shaking. With a wicked smile, Kang-suk asks if she's ready to take off the top. With no choice, she starts to comply. He notices she's crying and tells her it's not the time for that, reminding her she has to dance before the monster comes back. He's caught off guard by Jewel. The man asks if he came to join the party. The only thing Jewel says is for him to open it. That puts Kang Suk on alert. At first, he wasn't angry because he's not the kind of person to stand up for strangers. But upon hearing the request made for the woman, then seeing Sunjin lying on the floor, a small plea for help made by him, Jewel took a moment to understand what the boy had said. It was as if something inside him had been triggered. He can only think that if he had taken the initiative with Seola, maybe things would have gone differently. However, he won't hesitate anymore. As for Kang Suk, he doesn't get it. To him, the situation feels weird, like he's afraid. His own reaction worries him. He stands up to face his possible opponent. Kang Suk asks why he should even listen to him, even if the reason is because he's gold tier. But Jewel just stares at him with disgust. That irritates him, and Kang Suk says he tried to be nice since he was also invited, asking if he thinks he's some kind of saint among them. Jewel continues without saying a single word. Behind him, Kang's group declares they're going to take him down. Two of them come down the stairs to surround him. Sangman also descends, even though he doesn't like the way things are going, but Jewel just signals for him not to come. That shocks him. Jewel simply drops his gold pouch on the ground. Meanwhile, Kang Suk mocks him, calling him homeless and saying he's just acting tough because he's in front of a girl. He warns that the more he does this, the less he feels like opening the entrance. Suddenly, a punch is thrown at him. It was so fast that his friends didn't even react. But they weren't forgotten, each of them also got punched. All three are on the ground while everyone watches, stunned. Sangman wonders how it happened since he didn't see any of them get hit. Kang Suk, holding his injured nose, curses him again. Jewel grabs him by the wrist and drags him upstairs, forcing him to press the button. The bars begin to rise, and he orders Sangha to enter. The woman is shocked by what just happened, but ends up stepping in, leaving some of her clothes behind. Kang Suk yells for him to let go, saying it's over. He calls for Minwoo, who's watching the scene with his nose also bruised. Jewel orders him to bring her pants. Remembering the missing items, Sangha says she'll get it, but that's not how he wants it. He tells her to stay while the other one should fetch it. Minwoo asks why him. Jewel says it's what he deserves for hitting people and inflicting more pain on Kang Suk. He says that just like the man claimed, he really is a saint. Even more humiliated, Kang Suk demands his lackey go get it already. To help the situation, the lady in red urges him to hurry before the monster shows up. That just makes Minwoo more afraid. Jewel gives him 10 seconds to do it. The big guy runs as the countdown begins. He quickly grabs the missing clothes and returns, barely avoiding being hit by the bars. Jewel, who had been holding Kang Suk by force the whole time, finally lets him go. But Kang Suk still has the nerve to curse at him. The young man remains silent. Still crying, Sangha thanks him for what he did. Even in silence, Sunjin does the same. Sangman, however, looks at him deeply shaken. The young man carries a very different aura now. The hatred inside him has not yet been calmed. There's an annex that leads to a second building. The entire group is now together. The alert says to go to classroom 3-1 on the 4th floor of the main building through the 3rd floor annex with a 2-hour time limit. Jewel checks the message on his phone. With nothing else to do, he walks through the glass door. On the other side, he walks down a long corridor. Meanwhile, footage of what's happening is displayed on a large screen for a few people. One of them comments that the second mission is now beginning. They discuss how 20 people have already failed just in the first phase and believe that at this rate, they won't be able to hold things together until September. Hannah Kim, standing at the front, simply watches them. The guy seems to feel intimidated while the woman just pretends not to notice. The man turns around and asks if the other knows anything about the performance in the other areas. The young man says that in terms of difficulty, areas 2 and 7 are the toughest. The answer doesn't please him. He says he could understand if it were Europe, but wants to know what the problem is with the Chinese. It seems they're completing the missions and sacrificing contracts when necessary. Worried, the man asks about Area 2. The young man says that a French girl named Delphine is carrying everyone using her initial bonus and eliminating the Spectre. He also wants to know about the rest. Area 5 is fighting well, but nothing extraordinary, and their second mission started 30 minutes before theirs. This makes the man lament, saying that at this rate, there won't be anyone left by the end of the tutorial. But the woman reminds him they have someone with a gold mark, though he doesn't really believe in it. She reminds him that she was able to scare off the Spectre just by looking at it. Hannah Kim remains silent in the face of the situation. Meanwhile, Jewel kicks the glass. This catches the man's attention, and he asks what's gotten into him for acting without thinking about the consequences. The woman in purple believes he didn't analyze the mission's contents properly. He asks Hannah Kim if they should trust the boy. Annoyed, she simply tells him to shut up, but even she wonders if Jewel is really worth the risk. The afternoon sun lights the building in an orange hue. The two employees smoke during their break. The bald man asks what's up with Hannah Kim. To him, it makes no sense that she gave the gold mark to a guy who was supposedly under a slave contract. The younger man agrees, saying she must clearly know who he was. The bald man replies that he's the kind of guy who used to gamble in casinos while his family and girlfriend struggled. He can't see how the gold mark fits someone like that. The gold mark is Hannah Kim's personal item, so he can't ask her directly, afraid the single woman might flip on him. The younger guy warns that if he keeps talking like that, he'll get in trouble, adding that their leader is around 30 years old. The bald man doesn't seem to like that response, asking why he's being so aggressive defending her. Either way, he tells him they should get back so they don't get reprimanded for not monitoring things properly. The young man gets up to follow him, giving a small smile as well. The man opens the door to return to the monitoring room. He thinks some idiot is activating all the traps. His eyes widen at what he sees on the screen. The spear trap has been activated. It fires its spears to attack, but Jewel defends himself, dodging the first arrow and using the iron rod to block the others. He strikes at the spears to defend himself. Everything is being broadcast on the screen, which greatly concerns the man. Jewel observes more details of the place before stepping on a false floor panel. More spears are triggered to attack him. The young man is fast and precise. All the spears are struck before any can hurt him. The last one comes straight for his head, but it hits the ground instead. Red liquid begins to drip from the arrow. The woman in purple stands up, worried that the young man has died, but the man says he just dodged it. He noticed that after deflecting the side spears, it looked like he would do the same with the ones from the ceiling. The woman tries to understand better why he didn't, but the man isn't sure. It felt like Jewel's body wasn't following his commands. Shocked, she asks if he thinks that besides being able to see the spears coming from different directions, he also tried to deflect them. The boy behind them doesn't really understand the conversation, but the man is desperate, asking how Jewel managed to do that. Frantically, he goes to her, wanting to know. The man believes it's like he was already an Earthling, but Hannah Kim just asks what the record is for fastest completion time of the second mission. This time, the younger guy stands up and mentions Sun Shaheen. His record is 29 minutes and 39 seconds. She says that's insane, drawing the attention of the other woman, who asks what she means. Suddenly, the completion of Area 1's second mission is announced. They wait for the time taken to be revealed. Everyone in the room is shocked except for Hannah Kim, who smiles because she thought he was just a useless guy. But Jewel only took 16 minutes and 24 seconds to complete the mission. To her, he's a winning lottery ticket. The mission passers arrive at room 31. Han congratulates everyone for reaching the 4th floor and asks if the first and second lessons were fun. The room isn't as crowded as it was in the auditorium. Yule doesn't seem very excited, just like the rest of the survivors. Sangmin is also keeping to himself while staring toward the back of the room. In the last row of seats sit Kang Suk and his team, also distant from the others. As for the man, he keeps his head down, but Han is pleased with everything. He says the good news is that there's only one part left of the tutorial. This surprises Sangha, who asks if there's still more. Han confirms but tells her not to worry. He says it's an easy mission that might even turn out to be fun. That makes some of them suspicious, especially because of how easy it sounds. Han says it will be as long as they follow the rules, specifying that each one must follow them. Sunjin and Sangha look at each other a bit suspiciously. Han explains that all they have to do is go from the 4th floor to the 5th of the main building and reach the 6th floor. However, he says there will be a few rules. Using chalk, he draws a circle on the blackboard. He asks if they've ever heard of a treasure hunt competition, but no one answers anything, just waiting for an explanation. Letting out a sigh, Han says he'll just get this over with. The man begins by saying that coins are scattered all over the 4th and 5th floors. They'll have to collect as many coins as possible tonight, and those coins will be used for tolls in the roulette machine. The lady in red immediately asks about the roulette and the toll. Han says it's on the 6th floor, that's where the door to paradise opens. This grabs everyone's attention, especially Jules. However, the man says it's not a free snack, and the toll costs 100 coins. Even Kang Suk is worried about how he'll get that many coins. Han says there are 3,000 coins scattered around, and 100 of them are easy to get, especially for those who have a map. Meanwhile, Yun Seola fiddles with the pocket of her hoodie. Continuing, Han says the roulette machine is on the 5th floor, and if they manage to get enough coins, he encourages them to use it. With that, they'll be able to get items that will help a lot. Sangha is curious to know what kind of items they can get. He explains there are food supplies and essential items, but if they're lucky, they might find protective gear, weapons, and magic orbs. Getting the attention of Sunjin and the other man, he says that maybe, just maybe, they could find something that brings the dead back to life. He says that while it's possible, it's not easy, and it's not right to treat life as something trivial. The man was about to sneak away, but of course, he was caught. Han says he won't find any coins because the mission only starts exactly 30 minutes after his explanation. In silence, the man accepts that there's nothing more he can do at the moment. Then Jewel asks why items like that appear in the roulette machine. Han responds with another question, asking why they wouldn't be available. Grabbing everyone's attention, the young man asks why they need something like that if the mission is supposed to be easy and fun. That makes Han smile. He praises the question and says he's not just listening but actually thinking. Clicking on his own phone, he says the answer is there. Everyone receives the notification and immediately checks their phones. Han gives a warning, telling them to beware of the hour of the dead. They despise anything living. This catches the attention of those who are grieving. He says that with everyone cooperating, the mission will be easy, making it clear that's only if they truly work together. Everyone gathers, and Sangman already says there's something off. He asks if opening the entrance to the 6th floor will also open the bars on the 2nd, and if so, the monster will come up. The girl suggests opening the entrance and waiting there for 30 minutes. Sangman asks what she would do if the thing was waiting there. Almost losing it, he says there's nothing easy or fun about this. Surprisingly, Jewel says that maybe it is. He suggests gathering a bunch of coins until midnight, then waiting until noon to use the roulette and get weapons. After that, they open the entrance to the 6th floor. He stops talking, realizing something's wrong. The others don't understand. From Jewel's expression, something is clearly off. Then the rules for the treasure hunt appear. Rule 1. Use Classroom 3-1 as your base. Rule 2. Spirits of the dead and monsters will be active from midnight to noon. Rule 3. Neither the dead nor the monsters can enter the base. 4. Can use 199 coins to get a key or 499 coins to open the door on the 6th floor. 5. The portal is generated in the central area 30 minutes after the door on the 6th floor is opened. 6. As soon as the 6th floor door is open, the bars on the 2nd floor will be deactivated. This seems a bit scary for some. However, the lady in red notices that some people are no longer in the room. Cooperation is what Jewel understands will be the first obstacle, and one of the biggest problems. Meanwhile, Sangman asks if he wants to eat, saying there's still time before the mission starts. To him, it's not a bad idea and seems appropriate. While Sangha eavesdrops on their conversation, the woman asks if there's anything to eat. Everything edible is laid out on the table. The others are very surprised by so much variety. Sangha asks where they got all of it. It's Sangman who explains that while everyone ran to the waiting room, Jewel said something. If it's a simple mission, why would they give us 4 hours? So after some searching, they found a convenience store. Everyone is truly surprised by this. Delighted, the girl says he's not just good at fighting, but not everyone seems happy about it. All the food starts getting devoured. Jewel keeps swallowing everything he finds. He's not just eating, he's also hydrating. That leaves him quite satisfied. Sangha was watching him and says he eats a lot, so she offers her sandwich, surprising him. Although he feels a little shy, Jewel accepts and thanks her. The woman in red is clearly not pleased and can only think that the other woman is melting for him. She gets between the two of them and signals to them, then whispers something only they can hear. Meanwhile, Jewel finishes eating and wonders if he's always been this much of a glutton. Either way, he opens a can of soda as the others watch. One of the boys comments about being able to revive the dead. That makes Sunjin a little sad. The boy talks about a friend who came with him, but something happened in the auditorium. The girl also lost someone, and the two begin to cry. That leaves Jewel unsure of what to do in that situation, but it's Sangman who speaks up. He tells them to cut it out. Frustrated, he says it was already enough that Seal fed and carried them. Does he also need to save their friends? The boy defends himself, saying that's not what he meant. But Sangman tells him to go save his friend and follow what the guide said, collect coins and get items. The two are left speechless, but the man keeps talking, asking if they have any idea where they're going and what it's like in paradise to say such things. However, it's the lady in red who steps in and asks if he knows what it's like. He confirms in a few words, it's every man for himself. That causes outrage, and the other boy talks about them needing to cooperate. Then Sanger repeats that they should cooperate but not take advantage of others, and she asks if the definition of cooperation has changed. All this sparks discord between the two groups. Sunjin is silent and disconnected from everything happening. Then Jewel yells for them to stop. It works, making everyone go quiet. He tells them to look at the clock before they start a fight. They all look nervously at the clock, then at their phones, which show that there are only 5 hours left until midnight. The base room door opens. Sangman announces that he can't work with people like them. Likewise, the other group says they don't intend to go with them as they exit through another door. That irritates the lady in red, who walks over to them. Sunjin and Sangha stay in the room. She asks the boy if they should go. Jewel is left alone in the room. To him, the focus is on the first task, everything else comes after collecting coins. That makes him wonder where he should go first. His phone starts vibrating in his pants pocket. He takes it out to see what it is. What he sees on the screen makes him nervous. He receives coin locations from an unknown sender, including inside the podium meant for teachers. He looks toward the place where Han was standing when announcing the rules. Soon, he walks over to search. He finds at least 4 coins, but the young man finds it odd. It was too easy. In room 38, Uciola is also searching for coins. Jewel ends up entering that same room. The man's gaze turns to specific people. Jewel thinks that Uciola had a map. However, he finds it odd that the girl is searching all over the place. Something catches the girl's attention. She finally manages to find a single coin, which impresses the boy greatly. But Usiola's lost in her own world. Usiola becomes embarrassed upon realizing she was being watched. The girl turns to leave, and he thinks that she's able to smile. Then he rummages through a wallet, finding more coins totaling 12. While celebrating, out of the corner of his eye, he notices something. Usiola is staring at him, blinking to hold back tears. A bit awkwardly, Jewel wishes her good luck, which leaves the girl a little confused until something runs through her mind. Meanwhile, he searches through room 37. More coins are found so easily that it's no fun to him anymore. With the task complete, he heads toward the exit door. As soon as he opens it, he comes face to face with Usiola. The girl turns her face to look inside, seeing that only one locker has been opened. Then she stares at Jewel, who tries to act natural. Usiola starts blinking again, making a crying face that makes Jewel a bit nervous. She's so embarrassed that she even lowers her head, but each of them goes their separate way. She's holding a piece of paper, still with a sad look. It's a map with information on where the coins are located. Jewel even takes a glance to see how she's doing and thinks about passing by room 38 one more time. Looking at the map, in room 39 there are 3 coins on the teacher's podium and 1 coin on the TV cabinet. Something catches his attention. It's Usiola running in with a frightening expression. Not understanding why, Jewel runs from her. Each one enters through a different door in the room. The two stare at each other like true opponents and race to see who can reach the podium first. Luck is on Jewel's side with the 3 coins. The girl jumps to reach another spot. The boy watches her, confused. She jumps desperately to get the coin on top of the TV. Her eyes start filling with tears again. As he watches, Jewel can only think that she should use one of the desks to reach it. Each failed attempt leaves her more desperate until the boy surprises her by saying he'll get it for her. He only needs to lift 1 foot to reach the coin. From that angle, the girl notices the red stain on his shirt. Without much effort, he grabs the coin. With a smile, he offers it to her, but the girl seems intimidated. Instead of taking the coin, Usiola just runs off, and he wonders if he ended up hurting her pride. There are 10 minutes left until midnight. The current scores are Han Sang-man with 100 coins, Shin Sanga with 70 coins, Jewel with a surprising 1,552 coins, but Usiola with 0 coins. The phones light up the dark room. Sang-man and Sanga are each sitting in a chair. Jewel opens the door, startling them both. The boy asks where the others are since it's almost the hour of the dead. Sang-man says it's kind of obvious. He also wondered if he would return, but did once he managed to get 100 coins. A little later, Sangha says he's lucky since she only got 70. Then Jewel simply dumps out coins and declares that now she has 100. The woman is surprised by the 30 coins and asks if he's really giving them to her just like that. Sang-man is impressed. The boy asks if he wants some too. Surprised, he asks how many coins he got, and the boy just says enough to survive. Then Sang-man realizes it wasn't Usiola who was collecting them all like he thought. Mentioning her catches Jewel's attention, who asks what's the issue with her. The man asks if he hasn't noticed she has a map. Jewel thinks he wasn't the only one who noticed. Suddenly, he stands up, startling Sang-man, who asks what happened. He just responds that Usiola is in danger. That puts them on alert, and the man even suggests that the problem could be Kang's suck. Jewel just nods in agreement. Suddenly, the phone starts vibrating, not just his, but everyone's. The alert says the hour of the dead has begun. The moon lights up the whole room. Some drawers are open and things are overturned. Meanwhile, Sunjin is looking for coins. He struggles to move whatever's in his way. Carefully, he pushes aside the glass vases, gaining access to a single coin. The boy reaches out, just inches away, but the coin slips from his grasp. The object hits the floor before he can catch it and rolls under the tables. Sunjin then looks for the coin, unconcerned with everything around him. Desperately, he searches for the coin that should be nearby. Using the flashlight, he lights the area and finally finds it. But suddenly, a drop of red liquid falls beside him. The boy stands up to see what it is. A sinister silhouette is floating there. To get a better view, he shines the flashlight at it. His eyes widen when he realizes who it is. Sunjin calls out to his deceased sister. The creature has its back turned and begins to face him until her fully zombified face is revealed. Shocked, the boy falls to the ground. The dead girl calls out her brother's name. Terrified, the boy asks if it's really her, and the creature tells him to get up quickly. Sunjin does as she asked, but keeps asking if it's really her. The spirit tells him to search, and the boy assumes she means the coins and tells her not to worry. Yola opens her horrifying mouth, causing more liquid to spill grotesquely. Frightened by the sight, he says he'll do anything to save her. The ghost simply calls out to him, saying he is hers. With tears of blood, she says she'll always love him. Then the boy leaves the room. His expression is very serious, and he's determined to do whatever it takes to bring his sister back. Sunjin is at the entrance of the girl's bathroom, a place he hasn't searched yet. He thinks he probably won't find anything. The boy shines his light toward the end of the hallway before starting to walk away from the bathroom. Suddenly, he stops. His mind is disturbed, thinking that he has to do whatever it takes to save his sister. Meanwhile, in room 3-1, Sangha asks if Jewel is really going out to look for the girl. He says he'll return as soon as he finds Yun Seola and Sunjin. In a cool tone, Sang-man says that if he's the leader, he'll follow. But a terrifying scream suddenly startles them. The three of them look out the window. Sunjin sees something truly horrifying. It scares him so much he drops his phone. The trio runs to reach him, and Jewel asks what happened. Still scared, the boy can only stammer the word Nuna. As the guys enter the bathroom, Sangha asks the boy if he's talking about his sister. The voice of one of the guys scares Sangha. In the bathroom, they find Yun Seola lying on the floor and badly injured. Sangha quickly removes her shirt and rips pieces off with her teeth. She says the girl will die if they don't do something. Desperate, Sangman asks what to do and where to find a medical room to treat her. The woman says they need to find something, but he doesn't know what to look for since there's nothing around. Then Sunjin says there should be alcohol in the science lab. However, the boy says there's a problem. Worried, Seal immediately asks what it is. The boy brings up his sister, and Jewel quickly understands that when they mention the dead, they meant those who died there. But Sang-man reminds them that they were warned to be careful, but claims the boy is fine. The other says it's because they're siblings. Sunjin defends his sister, saying she doesn't hurt anyone, and that he only found Nuna because she asked him to search. Seal still thinks it's dangerous. Sangha says alcohol won't be enough, and that they need to prepare in case she goes into shock. Desperate, Sangmin asks how they would do that since there's no pharmacy nearby. Despite the situation, Jewel remains calm and says there's a way. Then he remembers the roulette. Sang-man's phone vibrates, alerting a message: the locks on the 6th floor door have been deactivated as well as the bars on the 2nd floor. The portal will be generated in 30 minutes. It's Sang-man who takes action and says he has an idea. They go to the library, and the coins are used on the roulette. An object rolls out this time. It's a disinfectant. They keep the healing item for themselves. Sangha says he'll carry these for now, and Jewel asks him to go ahead while he grabs a few more. The man says he'll deliver the medicine, and that if he doesn't return in 2 minutes, something must have happened to him. But Jewel doesn't seem to care much about that, so the guy leaves. Alone, the young man wonders what's wrong with him. But to him, they're strangers, and it doesn't matter whether they live or die. The image of his beloved appears in his mind. asking how he ended up this way. He sighs and puts the coins back into the roulette machine. The boy manages to collect a good amount of medicine, but his expression is quite sad. Worried, Jewel believes more than 2 minutes have passed. He goes down the stairs and finds a group gathered, making him curious to know what's going on. At the entrance of room 3-1 are Kang Suk and his group. The man welcomes him. Noticing his approach, Sang-man says it's an entry denial spell. But without saying a single word, Jewel steps forward and throws a punch, hitting a magic shield. Holding an item, Kang Suk says it's useless. He says he activated it with a special scroll so no one can enter without his permission. Jewel asks if he opened the 6th floor door, and he confirms. Then he asks why. Mocking him, Kang Suk asks what reason he thinks he had to do it. Jewel figures he must have struggled to pay for the ticket since the two with maps collected most of the coins. That triggers a thought in the boy. He remembers Usiola injured. Smiling, Kang Suk says he needed 2 conditions for everything to work, and it only did because Jewel left headquarters. The boy says nothing. Kang Suk says he was sure he would leave since a saint wouldn't just stand by and watch. His gaze is threatening, but the group doesn't seem intimidated. From the dark corridor, a scream is heard. Frightened, everyone realizes it's the loose monster. Jewel says he won't make it to the 6th floor if the monster reaches them first. Unconcerned, Kang Suk shows another scroll. The boy in the cap begs to be allowed in. He says he didn't do anything wrong, and Jewel thinks he's implying that he did. Agreeing with him, Kang Suk says they probably think it's unfair, so he grants entry permission to the 3 of them. The 3 look at each other, distrustful of everything and everyone, but without hesitation, they run through the barrier and go straight into the room. The rest remain outside while they are protected. But luckily, Jewel is grateful he came prepared. Pulling something from his pocket, he knows he has no choice but to put an end to this. To provoke him, Kang Suk asks what he and Sang-man plan to do. Jewel is simply alert to everything around him. He puts his hand in his pants pocket, but when he pulls it out, it's empty, surprising Sang-man, who expected some kind of weapon. This time, Kang Suk mocks Sunjin, asking if the boy just wants to be devoured like his sister. He even says the boy will make his sister cry, and that she must be dying to be rescued by him. Then he shifts focus to Sang-man and says he's already done everything, asking why he's worried about Jewel since he's a realistic guy. He adds that no one will blame them, it's a matter of life and death. The two exchange glances as they consider their choices. Standing, he apologizes to Jewel, and he and Sunjin accept the offer. The two finally enter room 3-1, but Sangha and Usiola are still outside. She becomes Kang Suk's next focus, and he asks what got into her that taking off her pants was enough to turn her into an exhibitionist. Then he says it's a joke. The man says he realized she was trying to stop the bleeding and considers it an admirable act. Then asks if she knows she could catch a cold like that. Right after, he takes off his jacket and offers it to her. That leaves Sangha completely shocked by his gesture. Kang Suk says she can come in too. From the portal of the room, Sang-man looks at her, giving her a signal. The woman gets up from the ground, then she's the next to pass through the shield, extending her hand. Kang Suk says she made the right choice. Sangha reaches out to take the jacket, but then Kang Suk suddenly pulls it back and pulls her into his arms. He tells her to stay quiet, claiming she knew what would happen when she chose that side. That doesn't sit well with her, and she tries to say something, but he asks if she'd prefer to go back to the other side. All she can do is accept it. Kang Suk smiles at how easily she gave in and asks Jewel how it feels to be abandoned. Provoking him, he asks if the Great Gold Tear isn't going to say anything, then says it's a shame they're not on Earth anymore, and no one will ever know even if he plays the Good Samaritan. His attitude changes, and Kang Suk grabs Sangha by the hair. He says she's just an example of someone who stuck to Jewel to take advantage, and now the game has changed. The man doesn't care that the weak need help and asks if all strong people are bad and all weak ones good. Kang-suk says it doesn't matter who wins or loses, and that Yola died even though she had bronze while Sangha made it this far. Jewel simply replies that victory is victory. Kang-suk agrees, saying he's pretty smart. As men, he suggests they let the past go and start over. The man extends his hand. However, he wants an apology and claims his nose still hurts from when he was hit. That makes Jewel very thoughtful. He closes his eyes. Kang-suk says he's not asking for much, just an apology. That should be enough for them to be friends. But Jewel's only response is to tell him to go to hell. That pisses him off. A burst of light explodes behind him. Kang-suk quickly turns to see what it is. Minwoo seems to have been hit by something. The man collapses to the ground unconscious. None of them saw what happened, which makes everything more terrifying. Slowly, Sang-man starts to appear, holding the iron rod and saying it's showtime. Then he knocks out the next thug. Kang-suk quickly looks toward the chair. Desperate, he tries to run to it, but the chair slowly begins to disappear until it vanishes completely, leaving him scared and confused. He's the next one to get hit this time. It was Sunjin who did it. Angry, the boy asks who he thinks he is to say bad things about his sister. That makes Kang-suk even more furious. He threatens to eliminate everyone. His next move is to try to activate the scroll, but Sangha rushes in to stop it. She stomps hard on his hand with her heel. While crushing it, she says she's never in her life met someone so terrible and perverted. Then she aims between his legs, getting him there and saying she's never met anyone like him. Sangha looks at him. Finally, Kang-suk is knocked out by her blow. Suddenly, a change occurs in the field, but Jewel just wants to understand what all of that was. It's Sang-man who explains he used a disguise spell and that he gave them a signal before coming in. Luckily, they both noticed. He still stays silent. Sangha asks if he really thought he had been betrayed, but the young man says he's still not sure. The man then wants to ask him something. Sangha says that before it all started, he noticed Jewel was about to grab a magic orb, but then gave up. He wants to understand why. Jewel says he wanted to see it with his own eyes, even if just once. That leaves everyone confused. Then he says he simply wanted to see how they would behave when cornered. Sangha gets irritated for being tested. The young man just shrugs. She asks if they passed. In response, Jewel just smiles, and they all burst into laughter. However, it doesn't last long because Jewel picks up a sound coming from the stairs. The young man looks back. Sangman, concerned, asks what's going on. Something is coming up the stairs. It's the wide-mouthed monster.